The reason why we want to care about cortisol, we want to care about our nervous system, is it's not just cortisol. Cortisol is going to impact our sleep. It steals from other hormones like progesterone. Like your hormones all compete for essentially like raw material.
And when we have less nighttime, less darkness, really in the summer, we are producing less melatonin. And melatonin is that like sleep hormone, right? The more water you drink, the more water you will flush out, meaning you will look just like less puffy and less inflamed in general.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Wellness Effect. Today, we are talking about something we talk about this time of year, every single year, before Christmas, before any holidays, is just staying on track during busy times and during the holidays. And we're going to give you guys actionable steps of how to handle the summer and not feel like you are falling off track and it not be one of these very stressful things. I think when we are on a healing journey, health journey, or thinking about starting a health journey, it's something that usually brings a lot of stress and anxiety, and it should be something that we can actually feel really good about and get other benefits from in terms of like the sun and the social events and just how to actually navigate that. So we're really excited to dive into it today. We find both our clients and just everyone, even ourselves, get a lot of benefit from just hearing about it, talking about it. So I'm excited to dive into everything. But before we get into it, Kira and Lacey, how are you guys doing?
Loaded question.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm doing okay. I was just at a fishing derby over the weekend, but I had a pretty big shitty fucking thing happen to like my very best friend that I'm not prepared or ready to talk about yet, but it's just been heavy. And it was also like the fishing derby is for like my Uncle Brad that passed away from cancer a couple of years ago. And it was just a little bit of a heavy weekend in general for me. So I'm hanging in there, but not quite ready to have an open chat about it on the podcast. And that's okay. But yeah, so I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there. I'm headed back to see my friend on Friday. So I'm excited to go and give her a hug.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity. So we can switch conversations so you don't start crying if you don't want to.
So how I'm planning to stay on track?
How are you planning to stay on track with being on a fishing boat and then going and traveling last minute?
Every single day, and I'm going to hit my nutrition 100%. And no, I'm just kidding. But we are excited to talk about this episode or talk about this topic. And I think too, just while we get into it, because there's so many different approaches that you can take for navigating, traveling, summer, whatever it may be. And it kind of depends too on like, you have to get honest with yourself. Cause like a lot of our clients have paid, they're in our program and they want to kind of like optimize over the summer, right? And then there's other people who maybe it's time to take the foot off the gas in the summer and you don't have to worry about being super consistent and you can adjust your goals. And so it's kind of just like have the mindset when you're listening to this is like, what is your focus for the summer? And are you someone who's really, really struggling with hormone and gut issues and you're going to take this summer to prioritize that? Or are you someone who maybe was focusing towards like a fat loss goal or a more basic goal where you're going to kind of look at your summer as you're going to take a couple steps back from whatever you've been doing and realign and readjust your goals, which is also fine. And I think something that we all try to really get into your guys' head is at the end of the day, what matters most is that you just do what you say you're going to do so that you can keep that confidence and that momentum up. And so if that means lowering your non-negotiables, then that's what you should do. And if that means like increasing and even like staying stronger in your boundaries, that is what you should do. So I'm excited to chat about it. We've got lots of thoughts for you guys. I was going to say, I feel like we could just end it there. That's all you need to know about staying on track for summer, folks. Have a great day. Goodbye. No, we're going to give you guys lots of really good tips. So stay and listen. I was just kidding.
This is a topic that I think we all love chatting about because we've been practicing it every single summer, probably for the last like 15 years, and we still haven't nailed it. And I think we all learn something new every single Christmas, summer, Thanksgiving about what we need in that particular season, and our goals, like Lacey said, change every single year. So that's something we'll talk about as well. Like I've been not home for the past 2 weeks and I won't be home for another week. And later on, I'll just kind of explain how it's just been a really interesting shift for me from previous years where I would just be like so desperate to get home and what I've kind of done to get there. And then here I know, obviously, just giving a perspective with like the family perspective. And I know you guys do lots of camping trips, which is, I feel like all my clients like just camp all summer long. So I'm excited to hear that side of things as well.
Yeah. And like, even just being in like a postpartum season too, it's like, it's so much, such a nourishment focus for me right now. So I'm like excited because summer is just like fruit and fucking cheese and crackers. And like, I'm just excited because I know I'm just going to basically eat all summer long and it's going to be good. But do you guys have like specific kind of goals? Or are we going to get into that later? Or should we each just kind of share like our personal intention just to give people ideas? Because it can be hard if you've never really thought about it before. Be like, what do I even want this summer? To be like, do I have even a choice? Is summer just going to carry me down the river on its own little adventure? Or do I get to steer the boat?
Wow, good analogy, Kira.
Good analogy, Kier. I haven't slept much in the last week, so. And kind of just like what we have outlined for you guys is like some things that are really important to focus on in the summer. And so we're going to kind of go through each one of those. And then also, I think just adding in kind of how to get back on track if it's something that you've kind of fall off on, or just kind of how to navigate those times where you are really, really out of your routine, because I think in the summers, it's when it happens the most. So maybe we'll go over that at the end, but should we just get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. So the first thing that we kind of try to focus on, especially with our clients, is just supporting our digestion in the summer. And something that's kind of interesting is that heat just from the summer and the sun physically changes how your digestive system works, which is interesting. And so when your body temperature rises, your body pulls blood flow towards the surface of your skin to cool you down. So it's kind of just like your body has an extra job in the summer, especially when it's really hot out, which means there's less blood flow to your digestive organs. And that slows down motility and it can reduce stomach acid production. And for women, especially if you are someone who maybe you're in our program or you are dealing with a lot of symptoms that you're trying to improve, and this summer is maybe not a summer where you're going to just kind of ease up on everything and change your goals and you really want to stay consistent with it, it is really, really important to focus on your digestion, because if you are dealing with that bloating or sluggish digestion or leaky gut, summer heat can kind of pour gasoline on the fire. And so it's oftentimes too why a lot of women will feel a little bit more bloated in the summer, even when they're kind of like eating the exact same things that they were eating in March or in earlier in the year. And it's not usually the food, it's the environment, right? Your gut is trying to do its job in a different environment. And so things that you guys can just focus on is like eating smaller, more frequent meals if you are noticing that you have some digestive issues. And then also really focusing on prioritizing like cooked, warm, or room temperature foods. Sorry, Kira, with your cheese and crackers and your fruit. But again, this is more for people who are really struggling with those digestive issues. It's just going to be best. And then same thing with just like avoiding really cold, ice cold drinks and a lot of raw salad. But yeah, I know sometimes in the summer that can obviously feel counterintuitive because it's when we want all the fruit and the cheese and crackers, but cold temperatures actually slow digestion down further. And so staying top of whatever like your digestive support is, especially if it's part of your protocol, is going to be really important to focus on. So that is something that we really help our clients navigate. And that's something I would recommend if you are dealing with those gut issues. Anything to add? What's some easy ways to support that? Bitters before your meals. So bringing your bitters on your travel.
Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned, like, I don't think everyone needs to overthink this. It's just if you are really struggling with that digestion, but there is another side of the coin. And this is more like that Chinese medicine is like when we are in hotter temperatures, sometimes our body can like handle the iced coffee a little bit more. Our body can handle the colder foods because we're eating with the season, right? But to what Lacey said, those foods, if we're not functioning optimally, if we're not spending time outside, if our body's not actually in the season that is happening, if that is a good way to say it, then it's not like we can just all of a sudden eat all these cold foods, cold drinks, and not expect our digestion to struggle. So it's just about figuring out what works for you and like finding that balance. But I know that's not necessarily what you're looking for. But honestly, I would just say like the meal hygiene side of things. So like being present when you're eating, chewing your foods, not chugging a bunch of ice water while you're eating your meals, and anything kind of like that. But Kira, anything you can think of?
Yeah, I always like to just, especially if you are eating like colder foods, I know this sounds like really weird, but they have less of a smell. So like if you think about like fruit and even like cheese and crackers compared to like a warm meal that's releasing all that scent, because digestion really starts when you smell food, you actually start to release those digestive juices in your mouth. So if you can't necessarily smell yourself like cooking, you're just chopping up a salad and like throwing on a piece of grilled chicken that's cold from the night before. If you can give yourself a moment to just look at your plate and like take it in and think about what it is and like, ooh, that's going to be tangy and that's going to be sweet before you start to eat it, it can really just help your body like start that digestive process, which is so cool. And also gives you a moment to just be like grateful. I always just love to think about like the path your food took to get to your plate and even like the money you had to make to buy it and the time you had to take to go to the grocery store. Like it actually takes so much to get like one pepper cut up and on your salad. So just to kind of like bring that like awareness to that is so helpful for your digestion and just a really easy way to sprinkle gratitude in, which is such an important piece of the journey.
And just awareness in general.
And I like things that like don't take any extra time. Like this isn't like something that you have to step out of your routine to do. It's just like when you look at your plate, just like you're already doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
All I would add.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about like the cortisol aspect of the summer. I think a lot of the times when we think about summer, especially if you are in a colder climate, like throughout the winter, which we all are, we have a lot of Canadian listeners, even in the States, right? It's not hot all year round everywhere. But what I would say with that is I think in the winter, we're like craving the summer and we think that the summer is going to like lower the stress that we have. But when we get to the summer, we have so many social commitments. We have so many things going on, all of these plans. And what ends up happening is there's actually a lot more stress mentally, but also physically. We're staying up later. We're having a lot more events with like foods we're not typically used to eating. We have a lot more like alcohol and not in our regular routine. Our kids are home more often. And so our schedule is just a lot less predictable. And that comes with a lot less consistency that we might actually have more so in the winter. And in terms of like that cortisol, if we're not paying attention to it, because I think that's something that takes, at least for me, a little bit of a back seat in the summer is because in the winter, it's like you're in your home and you're doing your nervous system, you're turning on your red light. It's so much like nourishment, but in the summer, like it kind of gets put on a back seat, but it's still so important. And like we've talked about before, the reason why we want to care about cortisol, we want to care about our nervous system is it's not just cortisol. Cortisol is going to impact our sleep. It steals from other hormones like progesterone. It competes for different, like your hormones all compete for essentially like raw material. So when we have that like higher cortisol that we're not even thinking about, our body is all of a sudden deprioritizing making other hormones. And so now we are stalling in that like hormonal aspect. But if we can just like think about it, and this doesn't mean that we have to be crazy about it, because like Kira said, summer's such a nourishing time. Like we're getting so much vitamin D from the sun that we don't get in the winter. If we can at least just tailor in a little bit, like Kira said, maybe it's just like gratitude before your meals, paying attention to if you're feeling stressed, and just trying to honestly be present is really, really, really important. And that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier. And when Kira asks, like, what is our goal going into the summer? For me, it's like when I'm on these trips, when I'm not at home, the last 2 years, my goal has just been to be present, because so often I find that I'm away and all I'm thinking about is how I want to be home. I'm like looking at my body. I'm feeling bloated. I am overanalyzing every little thing that I'm not doing perfectly. And so something that has helped me in where I'm at in my journey is really just trying to like practice being present, because I know 80% of the time, like I'm good, but that has been something that really helps my stress, because if I'm stressed the whole time I'm on vacation about how I'm not perfect, then I'm not getting all the benefits that come from being on vacation. So I don't know if we have any like, or if you guys have any actual tips for lowering that cortisol during summer, but that's my little spiel.
Yeah, I think like a good thing to know is just like have your intention. And yes, this is going to require you taking like 15 or 20 minutes of your time and like looking at your calendar a little bit. But it's like, remember what kind of caused stress last summer. Did you overbook yourself? Did you say yes when you wanted to say no? Did you drink more than you actually wanted to going into summer? So again, it's kind of going back to what I initially said at the start. It is important that you understand what your focus is for the summer, because for a lot of us, it is okay to change our goals and take a step back and enjoy, because a huge part of nourishing is also just like the community and the connection that we get in the summer. But I think for a lot of us, we almost overpromise ourselves and we lack those boundaries in the summer because there's a lot of events, like there's lots of weddings for people and stuff where you feel like maybe you have to go, or your kids are out of school, so people know that maybe you're not working. So you feel like you have to say yes because they know that you're not actually busy or whatever.
This episode of The Wellness Effect is brought to you by Lifestyle You. If you're listening to this podcast and thinking, okay, this sounds like me, whether it's low energy, hormone imbalances, stubborn symptoms, or you just feel like you've tried everything, Lifestyle You is our root cause coaching program designed to help you actually connect the dots.
We use functional nutrition, personalized support, and functional lab testing to figure out why your body is doing what it's doing, instead of just guessing or slapping a Band-Aid on symptoms.
And because you're a listener of The Wellness Effect, when you use the code Wellness Effect, you'll receive a free functional lab when you join the program. If this episode is resonating with you, make sure to share it with a friend, subscribe to the podcast, and check out the show notes to learn more about Lifestyle You and how to apply.
So it's like, kind of try to set your boundaries prior to going into the summer and like ask yourself, like, if you drank every single weekend last summer and that caused you to have anxiety every single Monday, you were behind, you didn't get your prep done, you were running around your house and that caused you to feel stressed, like maybe set a goal around, okay, I'm only going to drink 2 weekends out of the month this summer. And then when someone offers you a drink on that third weekend, you stick to it and you say no. And then it's the same thing. Like maybe you only want to go camping 2 weekends this summer because last summer you went 4 weekends and that was way too fucking much and you got way too overwhelmed and then you were stressed and then you deprioritized yourself because you put other people's needs ahead of yours. But you have to have those things, right? Because then summer comes and you're having invites every day and you check your calendar. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm available. Yeah, I'll do that. And then you're 2 months in, you haven't slept, you've gained 10 pounds, you hate yourself. And it's like, that's what we're trying to avoid. But if you go in blindly, that is what is going to happen. And so I think people underestimate just that power of taking the 20 minutes, writing out your calendar, the things that you have to do, your non-negotiables, and then what else do you want to fit in? And then when people come to you and invite you or whatever, then you stick to that, because if you can stick to it, you will create that positive momentum. You'll be proud of yourself. But then if you go against it, so it's also important that you don't like, it's the summer. Maybe it's not the time to put these crazy restrictions and that you're going to be perfect on your diet if that's more of your goal. Or if you are someone where you've, flown by the seat of your pants for the last 15 summers and now you have all these hormone and gut issues, maybe you are going to double down this summer and that's totally fine because it's one summer out of your whole entire life. But it's like you have to have that intention going in, or at the end of the summer, you're going to be ready for winter, which is not what we want.
I am going to chat a little bit about sleep and circadian rhythm in the summer. You guys know I love this topic. And this is funny because Mom was just asking me about it the other day. She's like, it's already light when I wake up. Like I miss the sunrise. So like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Like, do I go out? Do I not go out? Like, did I miss it? Does that matter? And then same thing at nighttime. It's like, you bet your ass I'm not staying awake to watch the sunset anymore. Like I cannot stay up that late. But also we really need to prioritize sunlight overall. And the summer is such a great time to do that. So number one, just get outside when you wake up. It does not matter if you like missed sunrise or even UVA rise. Just go and get your 5 minutes morning sun. If you can do longer than that, even better. Right now I'm kind of waking up way before the kids, which is great because I go to bed at the same time as them, which sucks. But I get a really long morning, so I can sit out there for half an hour and drink my tea and just take in the sun. And lately it's been kind of cloudy and even raining, but still you're getting the benefits of just having morning sunlight to trigger that circadian rhythm in the morning.
And I think it's like easier in the summer, but we like want to make it harder. It's so funny the questions people ask me. I'm just like, you're way overcomplicating it. Just literally go outside. So there's not much more that I have to say about it, but I do want to talk a little bit about like vitamin D, solar callus, that kind of stuff, because it'll be kind of later in the summer by the time this episode comes out. But if you're getting that sunlight earlier in the day, you will be able to stay in the sun longer. This doesn't necessarily mean you're never going to burn or you're not going to burn, but it is going to make your body more like aware of where the sun is at and what protections it needs to have in place for you to stay in the sun a little bit longer. And when we have less nighttime, less darkness, really in the summer, we are producing less melatonin. And melatonin is that like sleep hormone, right? So vitamin D also fits into that receptor for a lot of the other jobs that melatonin does. It's very anti-inflammatory. It's great for the immune system. It has like a million jobs that I don't even think we are close to understanding at this point. And vitamin D fits into that same receptor site. So it's so interesting to me that like in the summertime, when we're getting more vitamin D, we make less melatonin. And in the wintertime, when there's more darkness, we're making way more melatonin. We have less vitamin D. So if you live somewhere that has these really true seasons, you do need to be prioritizing getting as much sunlight, like slowly building a really deep tan that almost can last you through the winter. Like I still had a tiny bit of a tan at the end of winter, which is crazy if you've known me for longer than like 5 years. I just thought I was someone who couldn't tan. Like I burned always, or I was like the pastiest, whitest human ever.
But it's just like so slow. That's like the important part. Kira always said, she's like, I go out for 30 minutes in the middle of the day. It's not like she's sitting in Mexico sun for an hour being like getting all my vitamin D for the rest of the year. Like it's a very slow, gradual buildup, but it is crazy as like the fair skin girls that we are, how your body, like, yes, if you're stupid about it, you are going to burn. But if it is that gradual buildup, it's crazy how much more resilient your body is to the sun.
Yes, and that's when we store the vitamin D. Like we don't just utilize, there's a few different forms of vitamin D, and one is like the one that we're utilizing in the body right away, and the rest of it we can store and literally save for the winter. Like our bodies are so cool, so intelligent, but you have to stockpile it. We're like little squirrels with sunlight. So I don't want anyone to think that like having the sunroof open and the windows down on the drive home is pointless. Like getting sun on your body any way that you can is really, really beneficial. But of course, like be mindful if you're going to be like on a boat all day, like you might have to wear some sunscreen. But honestly, I'm that girl that's like, I brought my giant umbrella and I literally just like put it up anywhere so that I don't have to wear sunscreen. But yeah, I think really just continuing to prioritize getting outside and getting your body used to being outside all the time in all seasons. But summer is just makes it so much easier to do. And like modeling for your kids, again, is always so important. Just like we get outside, we are people who spend time outside. It's great for your nervous system. Even eating outside in the sun is really great for blood sugar and digestion. So just like they all tie together. Anything to add?
I think maybe talking to the parents, because I actually do get a lot of people being like, I think maybe we need to be careful with how we approach this, but like parents asking about sunscreen for their kids. What's your approach? How can we implement these things for our kids? What does that look like? Because I think there's a lot of like now, because there's so much fear around the sun, and that's being like put onto our children, which is fair because all we're told is like sun equals cancer. So how would you recommend like navigating that, especially for the people that have like the more fair skin babies?
Yeah, I think these questions are like interesting because this really depends on whether you have like the foundations in place for your family or not. Like if your kids are on screens all the time and they're not really eating well and their immune system is a mess and they're not getting good sleep, then they're probably going to have more intense reactions to things like sunlight. That's just my opinion. But if you have the foundations in place, if they're getting enough water, if their food is good, if they're sleeping well, then they're going to have a little bit more resilience in their body to the sun. And that's also like when you're focusing on those things, you're focusing on circadian rhythm. That means you're getting out and getting that morning sun. So like I always, my kids, I'm just like, as soon as they wake up, like Jake, I obviously just take him out and we sit there. If it's warm, he's naked on the deck for literally like If UVB isn't in place yet, it's like as long as I can leave him out there. So I have the app.
Where's Jake? He's naked on the deck.
Yeah, he's naked on the deck. It's true. I like just leave the door open. I'm like cooking breakfast. He's like playing out there. It's awesome. He can pee and it just like runs through like the cracks. It's great. And I like doing naked time with my kids, like not with them, but like I like my kids. Babies, especially when they're just in diapers all the time. I feel so sad for them. Like after having Jake, I did have like a tear and I had to wear a diaper for like 6 weeks. And it is the most uncomfortable and just fucking annoying. Even just like a big pad is so uncomfortable. So I can't imagine like 2 years of your life you're in a diaper. It just makes me really sad. So anyway, that's a whole other story. And same thing with Ellie. I'm always just like, go do a couple jumps on the trampoline or like laps around the yard. And it's just to get her in that morning sunlight. And again, it's going to build that solar callus. So the more you are in the sun before UVB is present, the more you're building up that solar callus. That's your tolerance to UVB.
And that's because it's the melanin, right? I've never heard this solar callus.
Well, and it's like too, if you start in like April when it's like lower on the UV scale, when it's like a 1 or a 2, it's literally just like, I think of it as like your alcohol tolerance. Like if one day you just had like 15 margaritas, you're going to be absolutely fucked. But if you slowly like have like an ounce one day and then, you know, you drink that, this is so dumb.
It's just funny, 15 margaritas. No, but it's the melanin that's what your body, when they go outside, and that it's the UVB or UVA, which is first.
UVA.
The UVA tells your body to produce melanin, which is what protects you from the sun.
Yeah. So then when UVB is when you're going to burn. UVB burn. Hopefully I'm right, because now in the back of my head, I'm like, am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay, good. Yeah. And you can get the app, My Circadian. It's free. It's great. I don't know. Some people think it's like so overdoing it, but I honestly love it, especially with kids. And I just try to keep them outside for as long as I can in that area. Of course, I'm on maternity leave. This is a lot easier. Like I'm not going to work in the morning right now, and they're not going to like school or whatever at like 7:00. But in the summertime, even just like when you're at the lake, just like make it your goal to get them outside. And then if it is like a hotter beach day where I truly will do whatever I can to not put sunscreen on them. Number one, I just think we need to be in the sun more. Number two, I fucking hate putting sunscreen on my kids. It's the worst. It is the worst thing in the world. But I'm not like going to be an asshole and an idiot. Like if we're sitting, there's like a parade every year. There's never shade. We go and sit in the blasting heat in the middle of July for 3 hours. Like I'm going to put hats on everybody. We're going to have water, but I'll probably put sunscreen on their faces and their arms that day. But for the most part, I just try to go in and out. Like same as you, like I'll sit out for 10, 15 minutes. If I'm like, hey, everyone's getting hot, let's go in and have some watermelon. And then we just go back out half an hour later. I don't think I have it like perfectly nailed down, but my goal is just to not put sunscreen.
Yeah, I like that. And there's definitely brands, if you are, or maybe you're going on a boat or you don't have as much capability to watch your children. I don't know. Or you don't have a trailer that you can go in every 30 minutes. Definitely like better brands of sunscreen than others. And so it's usually you just want to look for like the zinc kind.
And even like a lot can be done with just like a hat, and they have long sleeve bathing suits that are like UV protective. And I don't know why no one's legs ever get sunlight anyway. That's not medical advice. That's just a joke.
It's like my legs burnt pretty bad in Charleston, I won't lie. My ankles, I like missed putting sunscreen when we were laying on the beach, and they like were so bad. I'm not gonna lie.
But it kind of sounds like, to sum that up, don't worry too much about seeing the sunrise and the sunset. Do your best to get outside as much as humanly possible. The more you're outside, the less you will burn. The healthier your daily habits are, the less that you'll burn. And really just still try to avoid blue light before you go to bed. And within like that first hour or two, that's kind of like a habit that will never go away. But just don't stress about not seeing the sunrise and the sunset. But just get outside. The more, the better.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I love that. Great point. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about water and hydration and all of the in between, because obviously in the summertime it's hot. If you're going to be outside all day, then you're going to need to be hydrated. But
it is important that we kind of start to increase our water a little bit in the summer, or that's something that you should be like a non-negotiable no matter what you're doing or where you are. It's like water shouldn't be something that falls to the wayside. And it's also just a lot more than just your fluid intake. So obviously when you're sweating in the summer, and that happens a lot more in the summer, even when you're not working out, just from the heat, you're going to lose those electrolytes, those minerals, sodium, potassium, magnesium. And if you are just replacing that fluid loss with plain water, you can dilute your electrolyte balance even further, which shows up as kind of like that fatigue, brain fog, muscle cramps, cravings. And we just kind of want to avoid that because that's just your way that your body is asking for more of those minerals. And so if you are someone who is currently dealing with like adrenal fatigue, or electrolyte loss will hit even harder because adrenals regulate the sodium and the potassium retention. So if your adrenals are already stressed, heat and sweating compounds that very quickly. So to kind of fix that or just prioritize it is making sure that you start your morning with well, you can do a couple different things. A large glass of filtered water with a good pinch of sea salt and a squeeze of lemon before you have your coffee is an amazing place to start. Or you can take a page from my book, and I think Kira and Jensen's book, which is steep a nettle tea overnight and then have that be the first thing that you drink in the morning. But I always like to try to front load my water, especially, I kind of do this all year, but especially in the summer months. And so I try to get 2 liters down before lunch. So I'll drink that first liter right when I wake up first thing in the morning before I even eat breakfast. And then before lunch, I'll try to get my second liter down because it's just so much easier if you do that. And you never want to be like slamming a liter of water at 7 o'clock at night because you'll be peeing all night. And so if you can just make that a habit, you're going to be so much better off and it'll be so much easier to get your water in. And plus, the more water that you drink, the more water that you're going to flush out, which is actually going to leave you feeling thirstier. So that's also why I like to front load my water, because if I do get those 2 liters in, I tend to feel a little bit more thirstier in the afternoon than if I didn't, which feels backwards, but that's just how the body works. And then for egotistical reasons, the more water you drink, the more water you will flush out, meaning you will look just like less puffy and less inflamed in general, which again can feel counterintuitive because you think, oh, I'm drinking all this water, I'm going to feel like bloated and stuff, but it actually just allows your body to release a lot of that. So we all want to be looking tight in the summer. So drinking your water and your minerals are a great way to do that. And then also adding in like a quality electrolyte supplement. And I kind of like use that lightly because there's definitely a lot of brands out there that aren't that great and don't have a great balance of electrolytes. So you kind of got to know what you're looking for. But unless you're like really, really, really sweating, you probably don't need to buy more of like the sports, like an Element or something like that, that has a ton of sodium and not a lot of potassium, especially if you just don't know what your mineral levels are at. But it's not going to be a horrible idea. I even sometimes like to drink a half of one for those days that you're sweating. But if you're not sweating and you're just sitting inside, you don't need to be pounding Elements. And there's a couple brands I don't have any off the top of my head that I can think of that do have a better balance, but
there's one called Relight. It's by Redmond's Sea Salt. They make one. It's on Amazon. And then Minerals and Chill is great. It comes from the States, which can be a bit of a bummer, but it's such a great one.
I think Just Ingredients is a good one too. It doesn't have that insane sodium level.
Lately, I've been doing this, when I make my nettle infusion, I also make a hibiscus infusion, and that's my afternoon drink. And hibiscus is full of vitamin C, and it's bright pink. It's so beautiful and pretty. It just makes me feel so happy every time I drink one. You know those glass jars that the organic creamer, coffee creamer comes in? I have one of those, and I've just been putting it in there, so it feels like it's a special drink that I bought from the store because it's in the perfect glass. And then I made gelatin cube gummies out of coconut water.
I saw that.
And they're little boba pieces, and I cut them up so tiny and put them in my hibiscus tea, and it's literally the fucking...
Oh, I'm gonna start doing the hibiscus tea. So you steep that for overnight too with your
Same
nettle.
as my nettle, yeah. And then I drink it cold, and I squeeze a little bit of lime in it.
I even do hibiscus and my nettle together, and that I just find makes the nettle taste really good. or I like combine my nettle too with mint, because a lot of people don't like nettle. They find it's like kind of like thick, but I find if you like combine it with peppermint, mint, hibiscus, add some lemon, like there's no one that wouldn't enjoy it. It's so good, especially when it's like colder in the summer.
And I feel like you like work your way up to nettle too.
Same thing with coconut water. Like I hated coconut water, and now I could drink a full.
But I like taking those little like bead cube things in my mouth, and you don't have to really taste it. You just can like swallow it.
Coconut water definitely depends on the brand for me.
Yeah, it needs to be cold, and I need to put lemon in it.
Yeah, lemon is good. So yeah, that, and then always, as always, our trusted Aussie Trace minerals, or just trace minerals in general, adding that to your water is probably like the easiest, least overwhelming supplement that everyone should be doing. So if you're not on that train yet, now's the time.
Choo choo, baby.
Get on that train.
Yeah. Okay. Now, because I talked about earlier, just like the stress that comes with staying on track during the summer and the cortisol that comes with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about like how do we actually manage all of these extra events that do come in the summer months. And so we usually like to say, like Lacey said, like you want to pick and choose. Like you cannot say yes to every single thing that comes up in the summer if you are someone that has so many social events. And if you're someone that gets so stressed out and has that all or nothing, and you make not great decisions during that time as well. And so what we can do though, when these events come up, whether it's like birthdays, barbecues, camping, trips, weddings, is just trying to make, like we've said many times before, make good decisions when you can and not stress too much about it when we can't. And so I'm going to talk more about like when we're at an actual dinner barbecue and we don't have a ton of control over what we're eating at that time. And so there's a couple things that we can do leading up to it. I think leading up to it, we always like to say you want to have like a big high protein breakfast. You never want to starve yourself or undereat leading up to these events, because we think that we are going to help ourselves by saving calories if calories are something that we think about, when in reality, what always ends up happening is because our blood sugar is now low, we are underfed, our body needs that food. As soon as we get in those situations where there are mostly just hyperpalatable foods around, you are going to overdo it. And the best thing that you can do is have a normal breakfast leading up to it. If it's at dinner, have a good lunch. I even say like have a snack going into the event, like a bar or a protein shake. And I find it helps so much with just your decision making going into it. Doesn't mean you need to be full going into it, but if you can go into it with like balanced blood sugar, you're not craving all these crazy foods, I promise you, you are going to feel so much more clear-minded and be able to make better decisions. The other thing that we always say is it's something where everyone is bringing foods. You be the person that brings something healthy, whether it is a really good like quinoa salad, chickpea salad, fruits, vegetables. Like Kira said, maybe you bring like a hibiscus, like lemonade, healthy drink that everyone can have if there's a lot of alcohol around. Maybe you bring bubblies or non-alcoholic options so that you have something if you're someone that likes to like be drinking something and have something in your hands in those situations, especially if there's alcohol around. So bringing something that you have, making sure you're going into it fed. And then when it comes to like the actual event, we'll talk about in this situation, like dinner, I always like to say, start off with like the 1 plate rule. So your first plate, you're trying to load up on the things that are going to keep you full and satisfy you. So protein, fiber, vegetables, complex carbs, and healthy fats. And so more of those like 1 ingredient foods for that first plate. Try to fill up your plate with majority that like fiber and that protein. And that doesn't mean that you can't go and have the slice of cake afterwards or whatever that might be, but you're going to make decisions, better decisions afterwards, after you fill yourself up with those foods that are going to actually satisfy you, and you don't have a plate full of like a hot dog and a bun, which everyone loves their yearly hot dog, but like it's not filling you up. So you need to like start with something that is actually going to satisfy you. And then you can go and have your hot dog or have your cake or have whatever it might be. And you'll feel completely satisfied after that. And then you can just continue on and not feel like crap the next day. And I find that really does help so much. It's helped me so much with those events. Events like that used to give me so much anxiety because I was that person that would not eat all day long leading up to things and then be shocked when I completely overdid it and felt like crap the next day and getting into that cycle. So that's what I would say. If you do screw up, if you do find you overdo it, you want to look at it objectively. Where did that come from? What could I have done a little bit differently? It doesn't need to be like, I'm an idiot. I ruined all my progress. I'm like falling backwards. Genuinely just use it as a time for like reflection and just think, what's one small 1% change I could make so that I feel a little bit different and better coming out of the next event like that.
Yeah, I love that. And just to highlight the last sentence that she said, this is where it's, again, you guys, important for you to be honest with yourself. And I feel like I always speak to this because I was that all or nothing person for so long. But you want to set yourself up for success going into these events. So it's not a huge change. You're not going to eat anything. You're not going to have any drinks. You're not going to eat any cake. You're not going to you're just going to sit outside and watch the sun. It's like, just pick one thing. Like if you usually go in and you usually kind of overdo it on the drinks, make a goal around that you know you can stick to. Or if you know you usually overdo it on dessert, make a goal where you're only going to have one cookie or one dessert. But you don't want to go in and be like, okay, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to have any of the treats. I'm not going to eat any of the appetizers, because that's so hard to do that the chances are, if you're like surrounded by food and surrounded by a whole bunch of people drinking and being in this environment where you made completely different choices in the past, you're setting yourself up to failure, which then creates a shame cycle where then you're upset with yourself and then you say, fuck it. And then you just keep going down that rabbit hole. And so it's like, that's the most important thing, is just like, what will be easy for me to do? And maybe that is just one less drink or only one dessert or whatever it is, but it can't be hard, because the worst thing you can do is set yourself up for failure and then fail. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a good one that I've seen help a lot of people is a lot of my clients and stuff. And even like Brett will do this, like I make him do this. It's like, okay, if you're going to drink, like if we're going for 2 nights, you don't drink both nights and then like be a piece of shit on Sunday when you're coming home from the event. Like make a plan that you're going to drink the one night and then the next night you're going to like just have a good time and chill out. And I think that's like one of the biggest shifts that I've seen in my clients, is to like, or even if you're going for 4 nights, you only drink for 2 or whatever that is. I think that's maybe a little more intense than what Lacey was saying, but then you get to go, if you want to go balls to the walls one night, you can, and it's fine. And then the next night you kind of can have a reason to just like stay back and chill. And you'd probably be surprised how many people are, or 1 or 2 people are like willing to kind of like take that same route with you and like having a more laid back night.
If you ever go to a fishing derby with a whole bunch of old men for the weekend, that's what happens every single time. The first night, everyone just gets hammered. And then the next 3 nights, we don't see them after 5 o'clock because they're in bed. It's literally what happened. And I remember I used to like learn my lesson with that, because I'm not much of a drinker. And so if we'd go on like a girls trip or I was doing anything, everyone would be like going hard the first night or the first 2 nights. And I would be like saving myself because I can't drink 4 nights in a row. And then by the fucking last night, everyone's hungover and no one wanted to do anything. And then I'm all like, woo. So not that that's really like insightful. That's just like a personal experience that I learned the hard way. Just go hard the first few nights and then taper off. No, I'm just kidding.
That was like when I was in New York, we like drank, we picked one night early on to drink. We're like, well, then we'll have casuals, and you just like scare yourself straight. And it's like, okay, well, got that out of the way.
Yeah, won't be doing that again.
So binge drink so hard till you puke so that you won't want to drink.
Exactly.
What I wanted to cut across was there's like a lot of different ways you can do it. Like if you're like, okay, I only want to have 7 drinks tonight instead of 10, or every night instead of 10. Or you can just do like one day instead of 2 days, or during the day and not at night. I think like alcohol is such a tricky one. It's such a intense culture that so many people get wrapped up in, and it feels so heavy and important for some reason to be drinking. It's like so bizarre, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of peer pressure this weekend. Again, also being at the fishing derby surrounded by 60-year-old men that don't understand why you wouldn't want to drink. But what I was going to say too is like, don't be afraid if you are someone that usually drinks and you're going on a vacation or to a wedding where you would normally drink and everyone's going to be drinking. There is so much power to actually setting the goal of not drinking and telling everyone no multiple times in a row and sticking to it. And then how you feel the next day, because you're just like so proud of yourself. And then you're also not like hungover and anxious. It's really cool. And I think more people should just be like intrigued by experiencing that. And so it's like, it is okay to also set a goal like that, where it's like, oh, it is a little bit like all or nothing, but I think that's good for us sometimes. And so it's like, it is okay to also challenge yourself of like, no, I'm not going to drink, even though this is something that I would drink, because you also get addicted to that of like, no, you can't tell me what to do.
People do eventually stop trying. Well, I guess not if it's a fishing derby with 6-year-old.
It depends who you're with. But I have learned tools, which I've shared before on the podcast, because I've just, again, never been really a drinker. But there's a huge difference if you answer the question of like, oh, I'm not drinking versus I don't drink. I've found that to be like the biggest change. So when I say I'm not drinking, then people are like, come on, just have one. I'm like, what? It's not going to kill you. And then if I say I don't drink, then they're like, are you an alcoholic? And they like don't say anything. They like feel bad. So that's like a good tip. Yeah, if just saying I don't
and
drink.
Like Lacey said too, like I think sometimes it gets scary. You're like, what, am I never going to drink again? I'm never going to drink at my wedding or my bachelor, like whatever. Like we get this very intense thought of like the rest of our lives we're never going to drink again. But it's like, no, you're literally just trying an experiment for one weekend to see what it feels like. And the high on life feeling you're going to get from waking up at 6 and having a coffee and fucking brushing your teeth and getting dressed while everyone else is like crawling around on the floor dying. It is a cool feeling.
Also, just a note to not be the alcohol pusher, because you are annoying.
Literally. Oh my God. Just spending the weekend with those people. I was just like, and it's so funny because obviously it's like mostly family that have known the way that I've operated for years. And it's just always so interesting, like observing people from like my standpoint, where I'm like very strong in what I believe and what my choices are. And so it like doesn't really overly bother me. It's just like funny how much other people obsess over what I'm choosing to eat and to drink. I'm like, I eat a cookie and I shouldn't eat a cookie, and you can't believe I'm eating a cookie. And then I don't eat the cookie. And then you're like, why won't you just eat the cookie? And I'm just like, it's so crazy. Like this whole weekend, I was like, you guys are so much more obsessed. Like, it's just funny because obviously I know how far I've come, and probably like, 8 years ago in my bodybuilding years, I probably would have like never had the cookie, but it's like, they just all still see me as that. It's just like funny. I'm like, you guys are all projecting onto me, and it's like weird.
Yeah, you're thinking about this way more than I am.
Yeah, it's just so funny.
Oh, it also sucks though. It sucks a bit.
I just feel like because I'm in this position and I'm just like so aware from like teaching people that doesn't feel, I'm just like, okay, here comes the comments because I'm choosing to have pasta. But now I just like put it back on them. I'm like, you're really worried about what I'm eating. They're like, no, we're just bugging you. And I'm like, well, it really seems like you're concerned about what's on my plate. No, we don't care. You just gotta like live it up a little bit. But even Dad was like, well, I'm proud that you're eating, but we just really got to get you to just start drinking. I'm just like, what a fucking concept. I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to pick that habit up. But yeah, it's funny. So I said, well, you should have created a daughter that could have handled alcohol and didn't get an autoimmune disease. It's your fault.
Yeah, Dad.
Anyways, Kira, you want to share a little bit about just floor and ceiling, which is kind of what we got into?
Yeah, so this like is the perfect time to talk about this, and we've kind of trickled it into each one, but we have been talking, actually I feel like it's been a while since we've mentioned floor and ceiling, and we used to talk about it all the time. And it comes down to what we talked about at the beginning, like what is your intention for this summer? Is your intention, like Lacey said, you've struggled for years with like weight loss or hormone issues or autoimmune or whatever it is, anxiety, skin problem, and maybe you need to buckle down. And I think personally, like, I don't know who decided that like summer was a time to just be like so overwhelmed and we can't stay on track, because if you can like shift your mindset a little bit, it can actually be so much easier because you're like outside all the time. Everything's a fucking picnic. You can like bring a healthy pasta chicken salad and like no one's gonna bat an eye. And like in the winter, it's so much more like baking and cookies and like all that kind of stuff. So I think it's important to like remember that these are just thoughts that we've had. They're not true. Summer isn't actually harder to stay on track. You're just busier and you're deciding that it's easier to have excuses in the summer.
And also like staying on track is different in those two situations. So you've like created what staying on track looks like to you. And you're too rigid in that, which we've all been there.
Yes, I'm literally talking to myself whenever I yell. It's to me.
Well, and I think even on top of that is like it can be easy and it's easier because it's like warm out and you want to make good, healthier choices. But like your summer is also way better when you don't have anxiety from drinking and you don't feel like shit in your summer outfits and your bikini because you're not super inflamed and bloated because you ate a whole bunch of crap and you drank a whole bunch of crap and you actually stick to your boundaries. And it's like everything we're telling you is to actually make your summer like 20 times more enjoyable. But I think it's like in our head, we have like, oh, we all love summer. But then it's like you talk to anyone in summer and everyone is like stressed and they've got a million things to do and they're overwhelmed. And it's just like there has to be some wiggle room, but it is meant to like create a better life for you. And it's like me, Jensen, and Kira, we're all at kind of really different phases right now. I wouldn't even say we're like through it. But it's like I'm not like stressing about staying on track because it's like your lifestyle. You know what I mean? And it's these habits are easy for us. We don't have to think about it. And so it's like just remind yourself of that is like these habits and boundaries are there so that you have an easier, better summer.
Yes. And we're yelling it at you because we've done it on the other way and we've done it this way. And it's exactly what Lacey just said. Once you do a summer of that, it's literally going to be like the summer I turned pretty. It's like, it's the one that changes fucking everything. And all of a sudden it makes boundaries like easier in every other season of life. And you know that you can kind of like, you can do it. You can do it. So yeah, floor and ceiling, this is a concept that, like I said, we talk about a lot. So the first really important thing to take away is you need to take a minute. If you have time to listen to this podcast this far in, you have time to take 5 minutes and just like set your summer intention. Even if it's different every month, if it's different on the weekends, it's different when you're camping, when you're home, like it doesn't matter. It can literally change day to day, but give yourself the gift of thinking about intention. This is like even literally before you open your eyes in the morning and get out of your bed, like what is my intention for today? How do I want it to look? How do I want it to feel? And it'll make all your choices so much easier. And then that's where the floor and the ceiling comes in. So, okay, let's say you set an overall goal for the summer to just like crush it. You want to feel good. You've struggled with boundaries for a really long time and you know how you want to feel and you let other people's ideas or society's ideas of what summer should look like kind of impede on that. And so your goal this summer is to just like crush it, no drinking, you're going to eat well, you're going to have fun, you're going to have connection. Then you can set your floor and your ceiling from there. And this can be for every choice that you make. So let's say breakfast. Your floor is, some protein before coffee in the morning. That's like your floor. And then your ceiling is like, a full spread. You're focused on fiber. You're looking at your protein. You've got some colors in there. You've got some good healthy fat and carbs, and it's really balanced. And you're eating it within half an hour of waking up. And you're taking a walk after, and you're doing your digestive enzymes before. And that's like your ceiling. And then you can kind of find yourself in between, and it's going to be okay if you're in between, if you're not hitting that ceiling. And same for just any other decision that you make. So if you have, a movement intention and your floor is like a quick walk to the mailbox, after breakfast, and your ceiling is like 3 walks after all your meals or 1 long walk or a gym workout that day, that's great too. And it just allows you to not be so structured and like intense and have seasons of life like summer or where you're on one end or the other and it's okay. And it doesn't like screw everything up. Am I even doing a good job?
No, yeah. I think it's like a hard thing to explain because everyone's floor and ceiling is so different. I remember we recorded a podcast a long time ago, Kira. Lacey and I gave you a hard time, but you're like, maybe your floor is brushing your teeth. And we like laughed. But it's true. Like everyone's floor is so different and it depends where you're at in your journey, how strict you do need to be, or maybe you need to chill out a little bit more or what your goals are. And so it's hard for us to tell you what those floor and ceilings are because that is something that you need to figure out. And basically floor is what can you do on the hardest day ever when like life is hectic as hell and shit is hitting the fan, and what can you do? And ceiling is like, what can you do on like the most chill, like your optimal best wellness day ever, and figuring out what that looks like for you and those in-betweens, and that will shift and you might need to adapt it. Right.
And I think too, even going back to what Kira said, it's like, even when like before you open your eyes in the morning, like think about your day, and is it going to be more of a floor day, or is it going to be more of a ceiling day, and almost have that intention going in. So it's, you're camping in the middle of nowhere and you're with your husband's parents and you're not in control and you've got 2 kids. It's like, okay, that's probably going to be a floor day. So let's aim for the floor. And then it's like, oh, you're at home and your husband took the kids for the weekend and you have no plans on your schedule. And it's like, okay, let's have a ceiling weekend. You know what I mean? So it's like, you also have to have that intention, but sometimes you might be like, oh, this is going to be a ceiling day. And then something throws you off course in the first 2 hours. And so it's just good to have in the back of your head, like, okay, I'm just going for my floor now, and that's okay. So even if you kind of look back over the last 6 months, remind yourself of what those really good days looked like and have that be your ceiling. And then think about like a bad day or an off day that you had in the last 6 months and like, what did you do that day? And then that's how you can kind of create your floor. But because it is so different for all of us and even like what your goals are, it's hard for us to give you guys examples of that. But I think it's nice if you're kind of sitting down and taking the 10 minutes to plan this out. It's like pick a nutrition floor and ceiling, pick a movement floor and ceiling, pick a mindset or just like nervous system floor and ceiling, right? So that might be like floor is you take a deep breath before you get out of bed or before each meal. And then ceiling might be you do a journal session and a yoga flow and you're touching grass for 15 minutes. So something about just like mindset, nervous system. And then I think those are 3 most important. What do you guys think? Any other ones you'd add? Movement, nutrition, nervous system.
You can have it for so many things. So I love that. I think that's a really good place to start because you could literally have it for like water, sleep, supplements. And just know that like if you even taken the time and have the awareness to set up those 3 things with a floor and a ceiling, you are so far ahead of 90% of people and it's going to pay off so much. And if you only hit the floor of all 3 of those things for a year, like that is still fucking incredible and matters and it's going to make a difference. And then maybe like the next year you'll take 1 step up and your floor will become a little bit higher. And also if you're like aiming for the floor, I loved when Lacey said that. It's like if someone supports you and helps you hit the ceiling or even like anywhere in between, you're going to be so excited and grateful. Like I was thinking of the analogy if you're camping and you're with your in-laws and you have no control and then all of a sudden they bring like sausage and eggs and some fruit, you're going to be like, oh my God, okay, fucking ceiling motherfucker. Like you're going to be so like grateful and happy for it. So there's just so many cool little like mindset ways you can sort of trick yourself into. But yeah, the best thing to do is enjoy your summer, enjoy everything that comes from it, the social connection, the vitamin D, all the different fruits and veggies that are in season. And just think of it as if you screw up one weekend trip, whatever it might be, it's practice. It's not that you're failing. So hopefully you guys got something out of this episode. I know we all did talking about it.
Oh, and just one last thing of like what happens when you had all these amazing intentions going into the weekend and then you kind of slowly blew it because you were just practicing and you need more practice, which is totally fine. Like Jensen said, a huge mistake that I think all of us used to make is we come off a weekend like that and that Monday morning we are 100%, we're going to hit our ceiling in absolutely everything and we're going to absolutely crush it. And what that usually leads to is you not hitting your ceiling and then you being mad at yourself for not hitting your ceiling. And then you kind of start a downward spiral. And so what we've all really learned is when you are getting back into your full routine and you're going to have a couple weeks at home, just start one thing at a time and just be happy with that. And again, like we can say this and it's easy for us now because we've had a shit ton of practice, like 15 years of practicing of like, okay, when I came back from a trip and I tried to do everything, that was not good. And then the next trip I went on, I came back and I did one thing and then it took me 4 weeks to get back into routine, which is also not good. So now I kind of know I like fall somewhere in the middle, but it's like, it's more so just learning and getting like back into the habits of actually doing things. And so it's like, if I haven't gone to the gym for 2 weeks, I don't even ever set the goal of going to the gym for 4 days once I'm back. It's like, okay, the first day I'm just going to drive to the gym and I might just do like a walk around the gym, but at least I'm getting in the habit of putting my gym clothes on, driving there, carving out the time to do the thing, even if I don't do the thing. And it's like, maybe, you know, instead of the first day you're back, you're eating your perfect nutrition. Maybe that day you do a big grocery shop, but you still order food. So it's like, you're kind of setting yourself up for that habit, but you're still like not all the way in. Honestly, the whole theme of this podcast is what actually makes you proud of yourself and what actually makes it easier to stay consistent is setting goals that are easy to hit, that you'll actually hit. And that's what's most important. So it's the same thing when you come back. Don't go full blow, like aim for the floor. And if you get that done, great. And then you'll get that momentum going and it'll be much easier. So that's it. That's all. Right, you guys? Or do you have anything else to add?
I think we covered it all. As per usual, everybody, thank you for listening. Please share this with someone that you think would find it useful. Save it for if you feel yourself getting off track and you need a little bit of a reminder throughout the summer. Please don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, download the episode, turn on the reminders, all of those good things. It really helps support us, and we appreciate you so much. And we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Wellness Effect. We're so grateful to be part of your wellness journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram for more tips, laughs, and real talk. We'll put all of our handles in the show notes. If you have questions or ideas for future episodes, slide into our DMs or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep creating your own wellness effect.